Life is poetry. Live it, love it, explore it, embrace it, learn from it, share it, and most importantly, get through it with Christ. If I'm not about Him, I'm not about anything. Welcome to Vivique Speaks. Something that we wanted to discuss is getting married a little bit older. When we got married, I was in my later 20s and
I was in my early 30s.
yeah. And to be honest, for me, I know for a lot of people that's probably not considered old, but for me, it was my dream from since I was a little girl, old enough to understand, to probably be married by like the age of 23 and at least have one kid by the age of 25. Clearly, that did not happen for me. And to be honest, it was hard. My single years was hard because there were some points where I thought that, maybe that's not the life God meant for me. Maybe God didn't want me to be married. Maybe I won't ever get married. But I thank God that it was not that way. And not to give you my whole testimony, we'll probably save that for another video. But I can say the good that came out of getting married later on in my late 20s is I was very content by the time I actually met my husband. And not only that, I was able to appreciate him a whole lot more than I think I would have if I were younger, like in my early or mid-20s. And the reason why I say that is because I used to date. I dated a lot of different guys. You dated too. So, and going through different relationships and things like that, and not to down anyone, but, just after being through so many relationships where things don't work out, when you meet someone who truly appreciates you for who you are, it makes you appreciate them so much more. I noticed there's a big difference between dating people and wondering, well, do they love me? Because just because somebody says they love you does not mean you feel loved or that you really believe them. But one thing I could say about meeting my husband, and I'm so glad that God kept me for him, is just, I know that Mike loves me. I believe that he loves me when he says it. I feel love from him. Even if he doesn't say it, I feel loved. And that is a different feeling for me, unfortunately, because back when I was dating, I didn't always feel loved. I would hear the words, I love you sometimes, but actually feeling loved, actually believing that someone loves you, it's a whole different thing. And I just thank God for the blessing in getting married just a little bit older than I expected, because it just makes me appreciate him so much more, because I know it could have been another.
Yeah, and I want to say for me, one, I want to let our viewers know that for those that really know me, you know that I'm extremely private and quiet. And but I think that this is interesting because I wish that I had someone around to kind of that I could talk to in my singleness. So I'm going to say that, it's good to just be out, more and talk more. And I appreciate my wife, Vivian, for opening up that avenue to just get out and speak more, because if it was left up to me, I would probably just sit and be quiet. But what I would say from personal experience is, for me, being in my early 30s and getting married, I think, like she was saying, with the dating aspect, you don't want to put anybody down. But I also think, too, that when you see your atmosphere and everybody around you seems to be prospering as far as the love area is concerned, and they seem to have things, and they seem to have children, and it somewhat makes you feel delayed, and it almost makes you feel like, well, what am I doing wrong, or what is it that I'm missing, or what is it? What's the issue? So sometimes you can, and this is no offense to anybody out there, but sometimes you can find yourself dating out of loneliness and not dating for the person that's been assigned to you for your life. And what happens is you can be creating a dating relationship or create a relationship with somebody who was not meant for you. Now, that's not to have shade to anybody, but it's just that sometimes you can have loneliness. You can be making decisions out of loneliness and not making decisions out of acknowledging Christ or acknowledging God in that particular area. And I don't want to get too churchy, but when it comes down to, I have to be honest and say, when it comes down to choosing a life partner, then it has to be somebody who knows your life. Mm-hmm. And the person that knows your life and where you should be, other than a higher power, only but God can know the direction that you can go in and who the partner that you should be hooked up with for life. Only God knows that, and He's the only one that can make that very important decision as of who you should be with in your for being married for a lifetime. So when I say that to my single people, I hope you can understand that I remember the days what it was like to go to single conferences, to go to single things, to go to wedding things, and just sitting there and say, as a man, and I'm not ashamed to say that, but as a man to say, well, what is it? What is it that I'm missing? Or what is it that, why can't I find, you're happy for people, but you're saying to yourself, well, what is it about me that I can't seem to match that right person, especially in my early 30s and not really getting nowhere near the altar. Wow. So I just want to say that it's a very important decision how not to date out of loneliness or just because you look at your status and say, maybe I should just go out and date because I don't have anybody. I feel like I'm rambling now, but that's just where I am. At the time of meeting Vivian, I did feel as if, what's taking so long? And you know what, too? And I think you experience this, too. People start asking you in society. They start saying, well, you're not married yet? And what's the problem? And why are you not married?
And it makes you feel this small, like something is wrong with you.
And what's wrong with you? And you don't have any kids? And then there's some other things come up that can be very hurtful. And, you just start to make decisions based on what people are saying and what society says you should be and the place and the position that you should be in.
Very true. Very true. I agree. So did you say why it was better to get married older?
Yes, I'm glad you said that. Thank you for the reminder. But I'm going to say for me, it was great that I got married older. For one, I'm going to say maturity. I believe I had the same goal as what my wife was saying. I wanted to be married by a certain time. I literally remember writing in my journal in high school basically saying I'm going to be married by this time. I'm going to have this degree and I'm going to be... I said all of that, but had no idea it wasn't going to come by the age of 25. And of course, when you're younger, you don't have wisdom enough to know what's the right decision for your life. So I was not mature enough to house a young lady. I was not mature enough, though at the time I probably thought I was mature enough. But in my 20s, I was nowhere near mature enough to see what it takes to be a husband or a leader of a household. My 20-year-old self, and this is for me, for others they could possibly do that, but for my 20-year-old self, Michael's 20-year-old self, could not handle being married to this particular woman and birth her to the place that she needs to be. Did I say birth?
Amen.
Birth her to the place that she needs to be in life. That was not, I think life knew that. Life knew that my maturity level in my 20s could not handle taking her to the position and understanding the position that I was in. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
understanding that, I'm supposed to be the leader and I'm supposed to have a certain standard for you. And in my 20s, I was not mature enough to house all of this goodness here. So that getting married in my later years turned out to be a blessing, because by the time I got married in my early 30s, I was mentally prepared to say, I don't care what's out there. I don't care who's who. I don't care what's going on. I just want to make her happy. And I think that only comes from a matured mind, not a selfish mind, not an immature mind. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So what's our favorite things about each other? First you go.
You want me to go? Okay, my favorite thing about... should I call you Vivian or Vivique? Viv. I'm going to call you the name that I call her. Well, I'm not going to say the other name that I call her, but Vivian, what I would say about Vivian is One of my favorite things about her, it's she literally, and I mean this, she can get up out of the bed in the morning time, and literally, I woke up like this, literally, very pretty young lady, very beautiful. But underneath all of that beauty and the curly girl and all that other stuff, she really is very creative. I don't know if people know that about her. She's a very, very creative being. She is so creative. She's the way she organizes things and the way she thinks of things is so out of the box. And I think that I needed that even as a married man, because I don't like change. I like things to be very stable and just everything simple and stable. I like a consistency. And what I like about Vivian is she will flip the script. She will basically say, well, let's think outside of the box, or well, let's try it this way. Or do you want to try this? I honor what you're saying, but let's try this. So I love that. So one, that she's beautiful, but then on the inside, her inner beauty is that she's very creative, very talented, very organized, very, very organized. And she has so much in her that I know that the world has not seen yet. She has things on the inside of her that many has not seen, and I think that that's what causes me one of my favorite things about her, because she has so much in her that we have not seen yet, that a lot of people have not seen yet. So that's one of my favorite things. I have so much. Oh, comedy. She is very, very, very goofy. If you don't if you don't mind me saying that, extremely goofy. So I like that, because people, if you really get to know me, you find that I love to have a good time.
That was good, babe.
Thank you, baby.
Let's
see, I started to call you what I normally call you. Go ahead.
For me, I don't know. There's so many things that I love about my husband, but I will say this. I love the fact that he's caring. He makes me feel so cared for in everything that he does. He is the type of man where if I'm going out somewhere, if we're going out together, or even if I'm going out alone, he makes sure I have my umbrella just in case it rains, because he knows I don't like to get wet. And even things like this, I was telling him the other night that he is the type of man who, it's great in public. When we go in public, he opens doors for me. Like, he'll open the car door every time. But he is the type of man where when we pull up in the driveway late at night and it's dark and no one is watching, he still opens the door for me. And that means so much to me, because the man who he is in front of people with me is the man who he is behind closed doors. And that's not to say everything is perfect, because everything is not perfect. We have a normal marriage, but I know that this man cares about me. If he doesn't, he's putting on a really good act, because I just feel so cared for being with him, and that means so, so much to me. And even just seeing the way he treats women in his life, from his mother to his sisters to his niece to his students. I just love the mentality he has towards women in general and towards me as his wife, because I truly feel special as his wife. And it's important as a wife to feel more special than everybody else, and I feel like he truly makes every effort to put me first, and that means so much to me. That really does mean so much to me, and I feel that from him. So that's one of my favorite things about him. Another one of my favorite things about him and just about this marriage is we can be very goofy together. Something that I think a lot of people don't know about me is I love making up stupid, silly songs all the time, and that's something I actually grew up doing with my brother. Shout out to Kurt. As kids, we would just make up dumb songs about every and anything. And it's so nice to have that now in my marriage, because when I make up these dumb, silly songs, Mike is actually a singer. So he'll take it to another level, and he'll make it even funnier by putting his little runs in it, or even making up an extra line to it. So that's one of my favorite things, being able to take a piece of my childhood that, something I used to have fun with my brother, and I have it in my marriage now with my husband. That is something else that's just one of my favorite things about this marriage.
Well, they're going to think we're lame. It's all good. It's true.
So, I think that's it. We could close out the vlog right here. Hopefully people watch it to the end and we haven't been too long-winded.
Hopefully.
But we thank you so much
Yes.
for watching and for being so supportive. Thank you to everyone who subscribed. If you didn't, please do so. And if you didn't get a chance to, please check out my first introduction video. And we look forward to seeing you in the next video.
Yes. Thank you so much. Keep us in your prayers as well.